What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stokastic here on the Odd Chopper channel, coming to you with another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell goes a long way for me on this video, goes a long way for you. That way you become apprised whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. I'm not refreshed because a weekend in New York City will not do that to you, but I had a phenomenal time out there, got to meet up with a lot of the Odd Shopper crew, Greg Ehrenberg, Josh Engelman, and of course, Lofty himself, as we talked a lot of NFL coming into this season. And I went out until the wee hours with a lot of friends from a lot of different places. Saw some college friends, saw my sister-in-law. It was a great time out there in New York City. Could do it again, but I might die. So we're not going to do that. Bet365. You definitely won't die when you get $150 in bet credits by just playing $5 or more. Only if you're 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Oh, should probably throw in Pennsylvania Watch. Yeah, and everything I just said. But anyway, get this off the screen. Producer Jacob's happy. He's excited to see me because I'm funny. Sometimes I have my moments. That's really what it comes down to. But either way, we've got a lot to get to. What was the exact quote that he had for me? I'm going to throw this out there because Jacob watches as I update all of my plays in my sheet every single day. You guys don't know the process. I know the process. It is what it is. But he wanted you to know that you're a sicko, total sicko. You got some freaky ass plays on this card. That's what we're looking for here. I surely do. We have a walk prop potentially. We might have a lot of ladders. Oh, there's a lot of things to get to. So producer Jacob, without further ado, let's get to the picks. Game number one, Jake Irvin, Trevor Rogers. Trevor Rogers, I've been waiting for an opportunity to pull the trigger on him, and this is a bad price. That's really what this comes down to. FanDuel, it was the first play that I made, and it's the first game that I broke down. Jake Irvin, I know a lot of people want to point out, Eric, he's so much better than what you thought he would be. Yeah, he is, but also the underlying metrics are what we thought they were, and we let him off the hook. He has a 440 expected slugging, a 9.1% barrel percentage. Now he's going to take on the Baltimore Orioles. We've been talking about them all the live long day. You go over the last 30, Baltimore 6th in baseball, 125 WRC plus in that span. You go to the entire season because, again, I'm fancy now. I've updated my sheets to account for recency stuff. 117 WRC plus, tied for the second best mark against right-handed pitching in baseball. And Trevor Rogers, why, Eric, would you want to be backing a guy with a 352 xWOBA, a 451 expected slugging, and an 8.8% barrel percentage? Well, quite literally, friends, because Baltimore is a lot better at establishing some of these pitchers than what Miami is in their current iteration. A couple of years ago when we had Sandy Alcantara and a couple of those other pieces, they all traded away and became awful immediately. We saw a lot of opportunities to... Well, basically, this is the ballpark. It's the ballpark. That's what I want to point out to you here. Trevor Rogers is on the perfect baseball team in the perfect ballpark for what he does. High fly ball contact. He has absolutely no ground ball stuff compared to like some of the elite pitchers. Again, 47.2%. It's not bad. It's functional, but the hard hit that was going out of the yard is now going to stay in the yard, as this is one of the most difficult ballparks in baseball for righty power. Cavern out to left field because they elevated the fence a couple years ago. And as such, minus 162. This is going to close at minus 180. I could have made this a lock. I really, really could have, but there's a lot of things you can do here. I bet it individually. I also attached it to a play. San Diego, I thought, was a really good play for a number of different reasons. Run line, the over. I thought that there were some things that we could point to here. It's ironically enough, minus 200 on Monday night and Tuesday night in that game. So I looked at a number of different things that just made all the sense and all the land. Baltimore money line. I'll speed it up now. Chicago and Cleveland are in an absolute bomb fest. It is 8-7 here, top of the 8th. It was 3-0 right off the bat, and an absolute insane thing going on. And there's absolute craziness. Noel, the first Noel, then had a second Noel, so that's cool. He had a double dong session. But Javier Assad, Matthew Boyd, we actually have two pitchers on these early games here. Again, everything's like 6:30 Eastern time, 3:30 Pacific, all the way up until the end of the night, but earlier session of games, if you will. Matthew Boyd's back in our life. If you don't know who he is, he was a really good lefty for the Detroit Tigers here back in the day. And back in the day was a Tuesday for those who aren't informed, but it's a Tuesday today as well. And he will be taking the mound. Not a ton to break down with him. We'll talk about Taijuan Walker coming up a little bit later, but 2024. Yeah, Tommy John, and he's just coming back here now. And you go back to some of his year, like numbers from last season, whatever, but he's been incredible already. Double-A Akron, 0.83 ERA, 0.65 whip, 21 and 2/3 innings that I have overall. I just don't know how that translates here, taking on an actual baseball team as opposed to in Double-A, where I would expect a guy who has as good of stuff and has shown to be very, very good, Matthew Boyd, to just continue rocking. Now, Cleveland will have full utilization of their bullpen back here. I'm kind of curious to see how they end tonight, but I'm actually leaning towards the over of 8.5 here. One, ballpark, playing a lot smaller there in Progressive Field for power, and we're seeing that yet again tonight. And two, Matthew Boyd. First start in a year, you got to say prove it to some extent. Oh, and Javier Assad been pretty, not the general Javier Assad that I backed quite a bit last year working through it. 334 XWO, but not what we're looking for. No strikeout stuff. And Miguel Amaya as opposed to Christian Bethancourt. Huge difference between the catchers for the base paths, which matters for a team like Cleveland. Miami and Philly, another game that's just not all that appealing to me, said I'd bring him up. But next, we have Taijuan Walker back in our lives. Now, this guy, a little bit different than Matthew Boyd. We've actually seen him pitch this season. 5.60 ERA, 1.49 whip. It didn't go well, but he had a finger issue. Maybe he's better off here. He was in AAA Lehigh for the last however long, and doesn't look like he was having crazy success there either. So it's Miami. It's in Philly. It's kind of a weird line. I thought that this plus 116 would be closer to like plus 105, and yet I'm still not going to be betting it against Mr. Palazzo, mainly because Valente Palazzo. There we go. 22.9% K rate. Decent enough stuff there. 297 XWO, but decent enough stuff here. He is a righty. Might have to look at Kyle Schwarber numbers, but they're always so short against righties. Now, Philly on the run line, but I'm not going to bet it. We need better than plus one. Well, it's plus 116 right now. I need better than, I'll give you the exact number because I lost it on my sheet. Plus 120, is that really? It's just an even number. Cool. Good talk. Glad we had it. Also glad that we don't have to talk about this one too much. George Kirby, Tariq Skubal. Now, Skubal, I expect, even though he is the massive favorite to go out and win an AL Cy Young at this point in time, 102 pitches against Seattle feels like an outlier. I don't know why they let him rip that much, but he wants to justify ripping someone's head off. So you better stay away, you mean mother trucker. 6.5 for a total here, though. Seattle, not as much strikeout stuff when you add Justin Turner to the heart of that lineup, but 6.5 is a total here that's rightful. I mean, George Kirby, he's been all right here. I just can't. I mean, it's just a weird number here. I'm going to pass. I understand if you want to be pulling the trigger on it. Enjoy. I won't be that guy. I'm done talking. Under 6.5. Pass. Back to the plays we go. Eric Fetty, Hunter Green. This one I'm very interested in, mainly because I think Hunter Green, this is a spot that we should definitely be looking at backing him. St. Louis, they've improved. They're falling by the wayside. They're at a 104 WRC plus over the course of 2024 now against right-handed pitching. Decent enough stuff. Decent enough stuff. Over the last 30 days, St. Louis sitting around a 104 WRC plus. In fact, 104 I have in the splits over the course of the last year, over the course of the last 30, over the course of the last 14. That's straight off Fangraphs.com. Enjoy it. But Cincinnati, even though it's playing small and the wind's blowing out ever so slightly here, lots of strikeout opportunity, and Hunter Green has figured out his long ball problem to a certain extent. He's getting weak contact as opposed to the hard contact on his fly ball portfolio. He's always going to have like that Max Scherzer righty type stuff where he's got a higher than normal fly ball rate. We're talking 31.6%, but if it's only a 4.5% barrel percentage, I think we can get by with backing him. But I also kind of want to back Eric Fetty here, another fly ball pitcher. It's freaky for both these guys here, but we're getting 8.5 for a total. I thought this would open on 8 on a key number, and I'd probably just stay away. I got to eat it on the hook. I know that it's a key number for an over generally with 8, but I think sitting here, 8.5 minus 105, I like this under, so tail me. You want to really tail me on every single play? Check out the OS Marketplace. 50% off first month of OS Marketplace. We've got tons of great people that are going to be hanging out there providing picks, giving you an opportunity to sign up. Everybody's got their own package. Everybody's got their own price. For me, mine's right around $20 here for a week. And that would be awesome for the month. But you want to try it out for a week here for $10, use promo code Lindy50. $10 to get all my plays for a week. If you don't enjoy it, if you're not profitable, again, it's a very small sample size, but I understand. I'm in the business of winning money too. I'm betting. I'm posting my plays. I got my tickets. I can prove it, and I will prove to you that I am a profitable player on a day in, day out. Well, not every single day. That'd be absurd, and that would also be fake. But over the course of a week, you will definitely see what you were provided. And now that I'm back in the home station, back from New York City, I'm going to be hanging in that chat, talking all the live long day. Tons of baseball in the morning, afternoon to go through. And if you want to, with me, promo code Lindy50 soon, going to be providing content only available to the people in my chat in that marketplace. Looking forward to that very, very soon. Alrighty, y'all, back to the picks. We got an interesting one here, that is for sure. Houston and Tampa. I thought for sure I would end up on the Houston number at -138. They've been kind of a wagon. And Kyle Kerms and Toast over on their show, you got to check them out over on YouTube. They talked me into the Houston play, which is looking pretty good here in the rearview mirror. 6-1 in the top of the ninth. Probably going to cash that one. By the way, Chicago and Cleveland now tied up 8-8. Might cash that Chicago Cubs money line here after all. Man, that has been a crazy game to be watching. Just got it in the corner of my screen. Also, my Twins up 6-2. Yay. Yay. But Yusei Kikuchi, we just saw 6.5 with juice on the over up against Tampa Bay. I'm very curious where this line drops because is this a better pitching ballpark than Minute Maid Park last time that they matched up? I use historical data. I go over the last 10 starts or the last 10 days for batters, last 10 appearances. And then I just basically accumulate their sample size. I then have like a way that I devise it out for which handedness they're facing, or primarily the lineups. And then I basically run this out. And Yusei Kikuchi every single time. I've got this at 7.5 -105 on the over. I doubt that's where this number opens. And as such, we're going to be betting 6.5 over on, hopefully it's not too crazy juice, but chaos is a ladder. We're looking at a ladder up to 8 strikeouts here. I'm not going to go to the 9 or 10 here because there are sometimes we see crazy juice for this Tampa Bay lineup that is striking out more and more and more and more and more and more after this deadline. In fact, Tampa Bay against left-handed pitching, 28.4% K rate in the last 14 days. Good Lord Almighty. What is it good for? Absolute nothing. Next game. Oakland and the Mets. METS, Mets. Ross Stripling. He blew it. You let him off the hook. Actually, a lot of sharp people I know bet against Ross Stripling when he was like a $2 favorite. I mean, that was just absurd, wasn't it? Well, I guess face his old friend Paul Blackburn, and obviously Oakland's a very different baseball team with this lineup construction. Why am I spinning so much in my chair? It's just good to be back in the home base. Oh, Shohei Ohtani just hit that very far. Bye-bye, baseball. We'll get to that one because I do think that some way, shape, or form, that's going to be my favorite player of the year. But you're going to need to bet it like now. So let's get to that one. Ross Stripling, Paul Blackburn. Overall in this spot, I am definitely looking at Brent Rooker up against Paul Blackburn. This is a dude with a sub 20% strikeout rate. And Brent Rooker is a god, the likes of which this world has never known. Anything better than plus 300 will be on the card. If we start seeing numbers shorter than plus 300, I'm going to start crying. I'm going to start throwing hissy fits. I'm not going to be very happy. I'm going to be an upset individual. But for the time being, I think we're still going to be getting those numbers here in a park like, I almost said Shea. That's insane. City Field. There we go. Good talk. I think this is where producer Jacob thought I was an absolute sicko talking through this one, but I cannot emphasize enough. Yes, Jaron Duran suspended. There you go. He is not going to be playing there. I jammed with the people in the premium Discord a lot of like the pick'em stuff because they were the ones that didn't rip the lines off. Try to get exposure wherever you possibly can, and that's kind of the name of the game for me, is having access to multiple books and pick'em sites and everything else. The books ripped it off immediately, and I was able to get a little extra money over at some of the books where it was -112, -111 on Mr. David Hamilton to get a hit. Mr. David Hamilton. His name is David Hamilton. He ended up, he's still 0 for right now, which is just an absolute terrifying thing. He's 0 for 3. I'm going to get probably one more at bat, and I really want to hit. It's just so tilting to watch. He ended up getting the walk and the steal, so I'm not going to be completely butthurt, but either way, he ended up leading off. That was the whole point of what I was getting at. He ended up like 8-9 hole for the last however long. As soon as that news came out, it felt like NBA where we were trying to react to it instantly. A lot of other sharper people did. PrizePicks kept it up forever, so there you go. Hopefully you were able to take advantage of that, even if it ends up being a losing play, because it's all about expected value. It's all about getting your money in good. I can't do anything about the performance of individuals or injuries or things of that nature, but that's kind of what I'm looking at here. Jose Urena, he's been serviceable, but this Boston team has been #1 in baseball against right-handed pitching, and yes, losing Jaron Duran is a huge part of it, but they still have speed at the top of this lineup. They still have power in the middle of this lineup, and I still think you need to attack Jose Urena because regression is coming. It's like the Night King, and then, better than season 8 of Game of Thrones. That's what we're looking at here. Actually, no. Jose Urena is season 8 of Game of Thrones. We're going to be looking at a Boston team total ladder up to 7 freaking runs. Based on the last couple of days here, I am very interested in this play, 9.5 total. Cutter Crawford, we're not going to go pick on him with Texas. That has been terrible against right-hand pitching. But Jose Urena, we're going to go after you, son. Revenge is cool, man. Seth Lugo, and God knows who for my Minnesota Twins. There are a couple of different guys listed at a couple of different books. Let me cover the ways here. But first, Seth Lugo's been really good, and we're going to have a very competitive baseball game on our hands no matter which direction we end up going. Now, this could be the Louis Varland start. We've been waiting for the Louis Varland start. I hope it's not Louis Varland at these kind of numbers because I would want to jam the Kansas City side. But I want to point this out. Minnesota gives up a leadoff bomb to Bobby Witt. I'm watching this game. They're talking about, why are you throwing this to Bobby Witt, and yada, yada, yada. We're up 6-2 right now, so I'm still feeling all right about the situation we have before us. But Bobby Witt, hit by a pitch on the hand there in that 5th inning, starting to pitch in on him. He is one of those rare guys who just never, ever walks. Ever, despite the fact that he's one of these elite hitters in baseball. So what are you doing, Eric? Why are you potentially going to be looking at a walk here? Well, couple of things. I think there is a chance with Louis Varland out there, a couple of other different pitchers. They don't even give him a chance to go at anything, and everything is way outside or way inside. And this isn't so much that, again, Bobby Witt Jr. only has a 6.9% walk rate on the season. For context, Trevor Larnach has like 9.5% walk rate. Willie Castro on the Twins, 8.2% walk rate. Royce Lewis, 11.5% walk rate. You've got your highest walk rates. All you have to do is just go to the Yankees, Shohei Ohtani or any of these dudes. You're going to see it there. But Judge, 18.7% walk rate. Soto, 18% walk rate. Bobby Witt is less than double, almost a third of what they have for walk rates. It's insane. But the prices have started to get a little bit ridiculous here to account for the fact that Bobby Witt is good. And yet, I think they're positive EV in a spot like this. Minnesota and Kansas City in a very tight race. Bobby Witt is on another planet. These props are just basically unbettable outside of a walk where St. Louis intentionally walked him in back-to-back games on the 9th and the 10th. I think this is a live prop for us here. Bobby Witt Jr. It has to be nice plus money here. Bobby Witt Jr. to get a walk. I'm going to revisit this tomorrow because I do think at opening numbers when the props key in the morning, I'm going to set an earlier alarm than normal because this thing, it's got like a 2 in front of it. I'm going to be terrified of how much I end up down on this. So Bobby Witt Jr. walk. Don't want to freak you out too much. It's just a lean for right now. Need to see the number, but I'm very interested and you should be too. Gavin Stone, Colin Ray. Gavin Stone and Colin Ray. The fully operational Death Star that is this Los Angeles Dodgers lineup. Now, earlier in this program, talked a little bit about Baltimore, how much I liked minus 162. I expect that number to hike up. I don't know what ends up happening with this number, and I still don't care because, well, we got Mookie Betts back in our lives. I talked about that leading into Monday's game. Wish I had pulled the trigger there on the Dodgers side of things in a pretty heavy, considerable way, and I'm going to make up for the ills of my past. I pretty much had exposure all over the place on Monday's card. Monday, I had so much prop exposure, had a number of sides and totals that I had to the fray too, so didn't want to go too beyond nuts and add the Dodgers, but it was a mistake. Should have added, especially as I started running some of the numbers up against Freddie Peralta. We're going to see Clayton Kershaw stretched out, but let's move on to today. Gavin Stone, he's not necessarily in the best spot going up against Milwaukee. Now, Milwaukee, Christian Yelich, probably done for the season, although sounds like, Backy's going to try to work through it. Haven't heard a lot from the camp. I've got a friend, but, that is what it is. But 117 WRC plus, they are still really good against right-handed pitching, so I'm not really looking at the Gavin Stone side. I just think Colin Ray deserves to get torched eventually. And why not against what I believe to be the best offense in baseball when healthy? Yes, the Yankees are incredible adding Jazz Chisholm, especially this version of Jazz Chisholm. But in the NL, I don't think there's any question in my mind now. This is the best offense in baseball with Betts back. There's no larger disparity between two hitters or between two numbers in terms of ERA and expected ERA than Colin Ray this season. We're talking a 3.38 ERA that leads you to believe that he is fantastic. But let's talk through this. 4.76 expected ERA is terrible. And generally speaking, when you have this kind of gap, look at Framber Valdez over the course of his last 4 or 5 seasons, where you have a large disparity between ERA and expected ERA purely because he does give up hard contact. He can still find those tight curveballs and still get strikeout stuff. but sometimes it's harder to really project him out purely because, well, he's still giving up that hard contact, and that's going to add to his expected in some of these spots. But Colin Ray is not that guy. The guy is still having a 14.2-degree average launch angle off of opposing bats this season. Fly ball contact. And now he's going to face Gavin Lux, who's been on a surge, figured some stuff out. Kike Hernandez, who apparently got goggles and new glasses. Google that one. That's a wild run out, but apparently that's helped him. Been moving up in the order and then batted 8th today because, again, Mookie Betts is back in our life. 1 through 6, Will Smith. Yeah, all of these guys back to the party. Freddie Freeman. Shohei Ohtani, heard he's pretty good and a massive favorite to win the NL MVP. Just what I heard. How do we not jam minus 126 here? I don't see a reason that we don't. I know a lot of you want to just point out my locks and just give me shit about whatever this is and that is. It's been a very profitable baseball season. I don't care, but I will be locking this. If you don't want to, if you want to just say, hey, Eric, you've been leading me in the positive direction on a lot of these plays. We've beaten close line value and we're up on the year. Great. Just go ahead and play it for a half unit. Fire it up. I went the full unit, calling it a lock. You can put it on my lock record. I'm happy to have it there, but the Dodgers, fire them up. You're not going to be getting these kind of prices on the Dodgers going forward in these kind of matchups for long, so take advantage now. Talked about a lot there. Let's talk about this one quick. The White Sox are taking on the Yankees, and I will say, there are a lot of sharp people that I also know that ended up putting some money down on the White Sox and Yankees. It is 3-1, bottom 4 right now there, and Luis Gil just... Everybody wanted to play in DFS. That's a talk for the Stokastic YouTube channel. You can check that out here as well, covering all the fantasy advice. But from a betting angle here, I don't see a whole lot of advantageous numbers at minus 184 on the minus 1.5. And a lot of books that are going to be moving this and having this already at 2.5. Over or pass? Over or pass? I don't even see team totals on the Yankees that I'd particularly be that interested in. I think the White Sox will add enough here up against Nestor Cortes, who's had an up and down season, coming off of getting absolutely obliterated is the right word for it. 6 earned up against the Angels there in a like a wet, weird game that I was flying. Well, I should work on my phrasing. Sounded like I was at a slip and slide. But anyway, Nestor Cortes, I think he gives up just enough here to make this potentially worth it, but I'm not going to bet it for now. I think this is going to be a pass. Over 9, enough other exposure, and I know prop exposure will be coming later. And this is coming to you right now. Bet365, now available in Pennsylvania. It's also in the great states of Arizona, Iowa, New Jersey, and so much more. If you have Bet365 available to you, or just take a look, go down to the link below, because you bet 5, you get 115 bet credits over there in the old Pennsylvania, as well as 50 spins on the virtual slot machine. That can get you a little bit more cash to fire up over at Bet365, one of the most reputable books. Whenever I'm back over in Iowa or visiting my friends in South Dakota, where I, 10 minutes from the border there, love to go check out Bet365. It is so, so great and so many advantageous baseball numbers. Check them out, Bet365, and also, if you're 21 and over, if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Alrighty, off back to the picks. Kevin Gausman, Carson Fulmer, not a ton that I need to be breaking down on this one, although Kevin Gausman just continues to give up power to both sides of things, and I just don't see any way around it. Logan O'Hoppe murders baseballs, and Logan O'Hoppe is treated as well. You're not supposed to have dudes. You're not supposed to have your guys, although say that to Lord Bojan from the basketball season. Miss you 2022. Those were good days. Even a little bit in 2023. But either way, you don't necessarily, you have guys who treat you well. You have guys that you bet on who just break your heart in just new and unique ways. But in this specific spot, I got to tell you, I just think Logan O'Hoppe to homer, when you get better than plus 320 on a guy like 347 xWOBA, 478 expected slugging, 13.3 degree launch angle. And then you have a guy like Kevin Gausman coming in with a 16.4 degree average launch angle and 11.3% barrel percentage in a great ballpark in Anaheim. You just bet it. So Logan O'Hoppe, my favorite home run play here for Tuesday. Let's get one on the board. 3 more games to go. Hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bells. We talk a pair of southpaws, Austin Gomber and Mr. Eduardo Rodriguez. Now, with Austin Gomber out there, curious how Corbin Carroll gets handled, because they do have Randall Grichuk there on the bench. Alec Thomas, Randall Grichuk can always be buried down in that lineup, but generally speaking, they put Corbin Carroll in the 8-hole against some of these lefties, and he's just hitting so well right now. I think you want to just keep building his confidence up, especially in these spots. Like against Colorado, curious where his hit props open at. And I'll try to just jump on that line as soon as that starting lineup comes out. That's what I tried to do with Boston as well. I put a little bit down, then put a lot more down with the David Hamilton thing. Regardless of how it pans out for me, it's the right thing to do. But pay attention to that because I do think it's a little bit more fluid because of how good Corbin Carroll's been, specifically against righties. But either way, even against lefties, I think there's going to be spots to tango. And Eduardo Rodriguez, this is such an easy back for me. I mean, Arizona's just been a fully ridiculous operational Death Star. So we're going to just keep riding their coattails. We'll see how it pans out. Ended up on the run line here on Monday. I'm going to end up on the run line here again on Tuesday. We're going to run it back here. Eduardo Rodriguez. Strikeout stuff will start coming together here. I think Arizona's sneaky. They're really sneaky in the NL. NL a little bit more wide open for me than the AL, where the Yankees, Baltimore, really hard to bet against those two. And then an AL Central, where, well, it's a decent enough gauntlet through and through. But Eduardo Rodriguez, all of one start, gave up the 2 solo jacks, but still looked pretty decent up against Cleveland. I think we run it back here. We back him on the run line, nearly that -110 number. I kept this off for now. I kept it off. Now, you could also attach it like I talked about. I ended up doing the Monday attachment to the parlay, but that's a conversation for a different day. The -162 Baltimore one, the first 2 games is what it is. But we are looking ourselves at Luis Ortiz and Michael King. And Michael King's generally somebody that I like to back in these spots. I generally think that we should be backing him in these spots. But these numbers are a little bit wild to me because you have enough power lefties here on the Pittsburgh side. I thought it was a little bit more advantageous to stab on them on Monday as opposed to Tuesday's lines, but maybe this drops. Maybe people do end up a little bit more on the Pittsburgh side. Luis Ortiz, I know that there are some people that point out a number of different things that he's got that make his pitch mix somewhat appealing. He's got a slider, has a cutter that's okay. 8.9% barrel percentage is a little high for my liking, but limits the hard contact. It's just a wonky ballpark. Putco's been playing up for power, bring it up every single time, but Michael King, 30% hard hit. I think we just basically back him in some capacity here, if anything. I'm going to pass for now, but it's one of my favorite plays that if you aren't going to have prop exposure later, if you don't have extra exposure, hey, I only have a number of sports books, be it Hard Rock or DK in Maine, whatever that might be. I think it's an all right spot where it just passes the cusp of expected value, right in that 1-2-ish. It's a little bit thin, don't get me wrong, but I'd be okay at this. I'm going to wait and see if we get better than +110 on San Diego or inside of -195 on the money line. The last game of the night, I think this is straightforward. Charlie Morton, Kyle Harrison, both been pitching pretty weirdly. Now, Kyle Harrison is going to end up popular in DFS tomorrow. I just want to point that out. He ended up getting lit up against Cincinnati Sixer in there. Did an okay job. Ran into some issues there against Washington. Only 61 pitches, though. They've been really trimming him down in some, wasn't an injury thing, but I do think that makes me a little bit wary of like jamming this and making it a lock where it's like, oh, we got to just jam. Look at the tone. Look at everything. Charlie Morton, Kyle Harrison. We want to, absolutely need to bet this over. 8 is a weird number. I know this is one of the best pitchers parks in baseball, but Charlie Morton starting to fall by the wayside too. In San Francisco, the bats have been okay enough for me here, but he's had 2 starts now in his last 3 where he hasn't gotten out of the 3rd inning. Bet over 8, like it. Want to see what the bullpens really look like here before I potentially double dip, but over 8, clean enough way to round out the card. And that does it for another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Head to the comment section below. Let me know your favorite plays that exist on the board for this lovely 15-game every team in play slate that we have before us. Thank you, producer Jacob, and thank you, everybody, for dealing with me in JFK yesterday as I was talking through everything on the slate in very hushed, whispered tones. Nice to be able to project and talk through the plays. Check out Bet365 if you're so inclined. Check out the OS Marketplace. Good stuff from both. Appreciate having them here on the program. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the MLB streets on Tuesday.